Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we are not talking about heroes. We are not talking about sacrifice, honor, or justice. Tonight, we are stepping into the darkest chapter of Japanese anime history, the story of a man whose name became synonymous with evil itself. This is the dark truth of Noritoshi Kamo. The most terrifying villains are not always the ones who stand upon mountains of skulls, laughing as cities burn. In the world of Japanese anime, we are conditioned to recognize evil by its spectacle, the maniacal grin of a god-complex tyrant, the apocalyptic beam of energy tearing across the sky, the army of monstrous familiars descending upon a shivering populace. These are evils we can see coming, evils we can rally against with a determined cry and a glowing fist. The evil of Noritoshi Kamo operates in a different register entirely. His is not the evil of the battlefield, it is the evil of the laboratory. It is not marked by rage, but by a chilling, dispassionate curiosity. His title as history's most evil sorcerer is not earned through the scale of destruction, but through the profound perversion of purpose, the cold-blooded betrayal of knowledge, and the unsettling truth that his wickedness mirrors some of humanity's darkest, most historical impulses. This is the banality of academic evil, a horror that wears the pristine white coat of research and commits atrocities not for power or passion, but for the sterile, graph-filled pages of a conclusion. Think of the archetypal anime mad scientist. They often have a flamboyant, theatrical madness, a cackle that punctuates their outrageous declarations, a wild glint in their eye as they unveil their grotesque creations. Kamo is the antithesis of this. His evil is quiet, methodical, and bureaucratic. He likely saw himself not as a villain, but as a pioneer. His driving force was the pursuit of a jujutsu, truth, a breakthrough in the manipulation of cursed energy and human biology, and he allowed no archaic concepts like morality, ethics, or compassion to contaminate his experimental design. This is what makes him so uniquely terrifying. He didn't hate his victims, they were merely viable test subjects. He didn't revel in their pain, he clinically recorded their responses. The screams of the women he experimented on were not music to his ears, they were data points. This detachment is a profound form of evil because it removes the very human element that often leads to hesitation or mercy in even the most brutal antagonists. He is a slave to the hypothesis, and the world was his petri dish. This transforms his crimes from acts of violence into acts of profound dehumanization. In series like Jujutsu Kaisen, we see curses born from human emotion, fear, anger, regret. They are, in a twisted way, deeply human. Kamo's work sought to engineer this process, to industrialize the creation of cursed beings. The death paintings are not accidental monsters, they are meticulously crafted products. His process, binding innocent women to cursed spirits and observing the results, treats life itself as a malleable ingredient. It reduces the sacred and chaotic mystery of existence to a reproducible formula. This mindset is the hallmark of real-world historical atrocities, where people were reduced to numbers, units, in a terrible experiment. Kamo's laboratory is a dark reflection of the worst impulses of eugenics and unethical science, translated into the language of cursed energy. He represents the moment when the quest for knowledge severs its connection to the soul, when the how completely obliterates the why not. Furthermore, this academic evil is insidious because it parasitizes legitimate structures. Noritoshi Kamo wasn't a rogue agent in a hidden volcano lair. He was the heir of the Kamo Clan, operating within, and indeed, leveraging, the established power structures of the Jujutsu world. His status provided him with resources, protection, and a veil of legitimacy. This is a critical point. The most dangerous evil is not the one that attacks the system from outside, but the one that corrupts it from within, using its own rules and authority as tools. His work was likely funded, or at least tolerated, by a system more interested in the potential results, new weapons, new understandings of cursed energy, than the horrifying cost. This implicates not just one man, but the entire, often morally ambiguous, hierarchy of Jujutsu society. It asks an uncomfortable question: how many others turned a blind eye to the great researchers' methods for the sake of potential gain? His evil holds up a mirror to the complacency and moral compromise that can fester within any powerful institution. The legacy of this kind of evil is also its most haunting feature. A fiery tyrant, when defeated, leaves a scarred but liberated land. The legacy of the academic monster is a poisoned well. His research didn't end with him. The death paintings, his masterpiece, cursed wounds, persisted for over 150 years, a ticking time bomb of suffering waiting to be rediscovered and unleash new horrors. His notes, his theories, his very methodology became a cursed technique in their own right, passed down and continued by Kenjaku. The evil of Kamo is not a closed event, it is an open file, a contagion of knowledge that continues to infect the present. It creates a world where progress itself is suspect, where the pursuit of power through knowledge is eternally shadowed by his example. Every future sorcerer who seeks to push boundaries must now ask, am I walking the path of understanding, or am I stepping onto the road that Noritoshi Kamo paved? In the end, the fear Noritoshi Kamo inspires is a subtle, lingering dread. It's the fear of the calm, polite, and brilliant mind that sees no line it will not cross. He reminds us that the greatest monsters may not announce themselves with roars and explosions, but with the soft click of a laboratory door locking, the scratch of a pen on a clinical observation log, and the terrifying, serene belief that absolutely anything can be justified in the name of a groundbreaking result. He is the shadow in the ivory tower, the proof that when curiosity is divorced from conscience, it doesn't create a madman, it creates something far worse, a perfectly sane, and utterly soulless, architect of hell. In the world of Japanese anime, legacy is everything. It is the fuel for heroes and the anchor for villains. It's the Sharingan passed down through Uchiha generations, the will of fire burning in Konoha's heart, the very name of Elric, that carries both brilliance and burden. To be born into a great legacy is to be handed a sacred trust, a history to uphold, a community to protect, a light to carry forward. Noritoshi Kamo was not some rogue sorcerer, not a cursed spirit masquerading as a man, not an outsider looking to burn the system down. He was the chosen heir of the Kamo Clan, one of the three great families that formed the very bedrock of Jujutsu society. His evil, therefore, is not merely an act of wickedness, it is the ultimate, most profound betrayal. It is a poison brewed in the sanctum, a desecration from within the temple. Imagine the weight of that name, Kamo. It commands respect, implies ancient power, and carries an implicit vow to uphold the fragile order that keeps humanity safe from curses. As the heir, Noritoshi wasn't just a member, he was the future steward of this legacy. He had access to secrets, resources, and the implicit trust of an entire system. His position was a shield, a guarantee of credibility, and he methodically twisted every single aspect of this sacred inheritance into a tool for his atrocities. He didn't steal resources, he used his birthright to fund them. He didn't operate in the shadows to avoid his family, he likely used their influence to obscure his work. The very power meant to protect humanity was perverted into a mechanism for its violation. This transforms his crimes from simple malice into a form of spiritual treason. He didn't just kill people, he murdered the meaning of his own bloodline. This betrayal resonates on a deeply relatable, almost intimate level. Anime is full of characters struggling with the expectations of their lineage, from a prince rejecting his throne to a child refusing their parents' dangerous power. But Kamo performed a darker, more silent rebellion. He accepted the legacy, its power, its status, but hollowed out its soul. He became the nightmare every noble family fears, the successor who uses the family vault to bankroll its own ruin. The women he experimented on were not just victims of a sorcerer. In a horrific way, they were victims of the Kamo clan itself, because its most privileged son made them so. He dragged the honorable name of his ancestors through the mud and blood of his laboratories, forever linking it not to noble service, but to unspeakable cruelty. The fallout of this is catastrophic for the very concept of trust. If the pillar is rotten, what holds up the temple? His actions cast a permanent shadow of doubt over the entire system. Every edict from the great clans, every tradition, every assertion of authority becomes suspect. If a Kamo could do this, what other horrors might be justified behind other great names? He shattered the illusion that nobility equals righteousness, that bloodline guarantees virtue. His legacy is a permanent crack in the foundation of Jujutsu society. Future generations of the Kamo clan, like the current Noritoshi Kamo who strives for honor, must fight not only curses but the ghost of their own name, a spectral stain no amount of personal virtue can fully erase. They are condemned to atone for a sin they did not commit, burdened with a history they must desperately try to overwrite. Thus, Noritoshi Kamo's evil achieves a unique depth. He is a villain who did not just attack the world, he attacked the idea of heritage itself. He turned a beacon into a black hole, sucking the honor out of his own lineage and leaving behind a vacuum filled only with shame and suspicion. He proves that the most devastating curses are not always summoned from the shadows. Sometimes, they are born in the master bedroom of the most well-lit, respectable house on the hill. The true measure of a villain's horror is often found not in the armies they command, but in the intimacy of their cruelty. Noritoshi Kamo's signature atrocity, the creation of the death paintings, transcends mere violence. It is a meticulously crafted symphony of suffering that perverts the most fundamental aspects of life, birth, spirit, and soul. This is not the work of a conqueror seeking territory, but of a bio-sorcerer seeking to rewrite the rules of existence, using living women as his parchment and cursed spirits as his ink. His experimentation is a unique form of terror because it targets the very essence of what it means to be human, transforming sacred potential into an engineered nightmare. Imagine the process, stripped of its clinical jargon. Kamo did not simply kill. He bound innocent, living women to cursed spirits, beings of pure, negative emotion, and observed the results. This is a violation on multiple, horrific levels. Physically, it is torture of the most extreme kind, a forced fusion with a hostile, parasitic energy. Psychologically and spiritually, it is an act of unimaginable desecration. These women were imprisoned within their own bodies, which became battlegrounds between their humanity and an invading curse. Their consciousness was likely trapped, forced to witness the corruption of their very being, a fate far worse than any quick death. This transforms them from victims into eternal witnesses to their own annihilation. The horror is in the process, the cold, observational gaze of Kamo as he documented their degradation, treating their agonized transformation into hybrid abominations as a successful data set. The result, the 9 death painting wounds, are the lasting testament to this evil. They are not monsters born of nature or chaotic curse manifestation, they are products. They are half sibling, half curse, their very souls a stitched together amalgam of torment. Their existence is a permanent wound on the world. Characters like Choso and his brothers embody a tragic paradox. They possess human emotions, memories of a mother's love, and a capacity for brotherly loyalty, yet their origin is an act of such profound inhumanity. They are living, breathing contradictions, curses who crave familial bonds, creatures of hatred capable of sacrifice. Kamo, in his sterile pursuit of a breakthrough, created beings whose core identity is profound suffering and existential confusion. Their every moment of consciousness is a ripple effect of his original sin. This horror connects to a deeply unsettling theme in anime and human history, the violation of bodily autonomy in the name of progress. Kamo's work is a dark parallel to the most unethical human experimentation, where individuals are reduced to expendable resources for a greater understanding. His laboratory is a cursed energy reflection of the mad scientist's dungeon, but with the added layer of spiritual corruption. He didn't just alter bodies, he tampered with souls, creating life that was never meant to be. The death paintings are the ultimate cursed objects, because the vessels are the souls themselves, forever stained by their creation. Therefore, Kamo's evil is not quantified by a body count, but by the quality of suffering he engineered and the permanence of his corruptions. He built a bridge between humanity and curses using the bricks of human agony. Every time a death painting awakens, feels conflict, or yearns for a connection it was monstrously denied, it is an echo of Kamo's crime. His legacy is not a graveyard, but a gallery of living, suffering portraits, each one a masterpiece of misery that continues to scream his name across the centuries. He is a reminder that the most terrifying power is not the one that destroys life, but the one that dares to pervert its very blueprint. In anime, the most compelling villains often cast long shadows. But Noritoshi Kamo's shadow is not merely long, it is a living, breathing, and actively malignant force. His is not an evil that concluded with his death or defeat. It is an evil that successfully metastasized, escaping the confines of his own lifetime to become a self-replicating infection within the very body of the Jujutsu world. This is the final, terrifying layer of his villainy. Kamo crafted a legacy so potent that it transcended his own physical existence, ensuring his darkness would continue to poison future generations long after he was gone. He engineered not just cursed wounds, but a cursed legacy. The most direct and horrifying evidence of this is the death painting wounds themselves. These were not mere weapons to be used in his lifetime, they were sealed away, a time capsule of torment designed to outlast him. For over 150 years, they persisted, not as forgotten relics, but as dormant seeds of chaos. When they were unsealed in the modern era, their power and suffering erupted into a world utterly unprepared for them, causing new waves of death and conflict. Kamo, in essence, successfully weaponized time. His evil was programmed with a delayed trigger, ensuring that his influence would disrupt and kill in an era he would never see. This makes him a unique kind of antagonist. He is a historical figure whose direct hand can still strangle the present. Every drop of blood spilled by the death paintings in the modern day is still on his hands, a testament to the frightening foresight of his cruelty. But the propagation of his evil goes far beyond these 9 cursed children. His true masterpiece was his research, his methodology, the cold, academic blueprint for transmuting life into a weapon. This knowledge did not die with him. It was inherited, perfected, and continued by the ultimate archivist of sin, Kenjaku. Kenjaku, wearing Gedo Suguru's face, did not just use Kamo's techniques, he built upon them, seeing the raw, amoral potential Kamo had unlocked. The creation of the cursed spirit Yuji Itadori, a vessel designed to house Sukuna, feels like a philosophical and technical evolution of Kamo's work. It is the same principle of engineered human-cursed hybridization, taken to its apocalyptic conclusion. In this way, Kamo became a foundational author for a century-spanning plot. His private, horrific experiments provided the key research for a later villain's world-ending ambition. His evil became a textbook, and Kenjaku was its most diligent student. This creates a pervasive, haunting atmosphere within the Jujutsu world. Kamo's existence proves that the rot is not at the edges, but in the foundation. The system itself was capable of producing him, of sheltering his work, and ultimately, of failing to contain the knowledge he created. His shadow creates a world where progress is forever suspect, where any ambitious research into cursed techniques must be viewed through the lens of, will this become another Kamo? He has permanently corrupted the pursuit of knowledge. Furthermore, for the modern Kamo clan, his legacy is an inescapable prison. They must operate under the weight of a name that is synonymous with the worst betrayal imaginable. Every action they take is an attempt to scrub a stain that is over a century old, a fight against a ghost who rewired their family's destiny into one of shame. Thus, Noritoshi Kamo achieves a terrible form of immortality. He is not remembered, he is active. His thoughts move through Kenjaku's plans. His children fight and die on modern battlefields. His name suffocates his descendants. He shattered the linear flow of time, making his past actions a constant, pressing present danger. In a narrative filled with world-ending curses, Kamo's unique terror is that he made his evil sustainable. He built a machine of suffering that continues to run on its own, long after the engineer has turned to dust, ensuring that the dark truth of Noritoshi Kamo is not a closed chapter of history, but an open wound that still bleeds into today.